are you going for the coach to set up for immediate success?
I'm going Deion. Yes, immediate success. They won one ball game last year. They were non-competitive in almost every one of their other games. I'm just scrolling here. I think their lowest margin of loss so far is 43-20.
Well, and they gave TCU hell for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then TCU won by 25. Arizona State, they only lost by 18 to Arizona State. So, or that's not too bad. Look, I think Deion got there. He immediately got Cormani McClain, which is a nice way to kickstart that thing. You only have to improve upon one win, and being one of the literally worst teams, not only in the Power Five, but in all of college football last year. They were non-competitive almost every time that they rolled the ball out there. So Deion got them to change the policies, or they decided to change the policies in order to hire Deion, which is smart. He's going to want to take a bunch of transfers like he did at Jackson State. They're up to 23 transfers now. Previously, you really couldn't get transfers in there academically. The school wouldn't play ball with the coaching staff. So this roster is just going to be a hell of a lot better than it was last year. Also, what a success at Colorado. 4 wins to me is a pretty good success this year. If he somehow lucks out and makes a bowl, that's a huge success. Like 3 wins is probably going to be viewed as a success in Boulder this year if it happens. So I'm going to go Deion in Colorado.
3 wins is not going to be seen as a success. I agree with your point that maybe it should be. And I gave the example of Lance Leipold in his first year. They had 2 wins, but at the end of the year, they beat Texas. Like if Deion gets a signature win, somehow pulls off a big upset, and they have 3 wins, and you see progress towards year 2, then yes. But other than that, 3 wins is going to be, oh, was this a mistake? I think that's going to, and I agree with you, Bud, but I think from it's just Deion. He is a lightning rod, and people have strong opinions on him, and they're going to expect them to go over. So let me ask you this though, Bud, because if we're doing it like wins over last year turnaround, then I might change my answer. But if it's set at 4.5, are you liking the over?
Potentially. I need to think about who else they bring in, but like Arizona's not had a good year in the portal. A lot of their best players got taken. I don't think Oregon State can actually be any better than it was last year. Like they seem to be at the very top of their range based on the way that they recruit players. We don't know what Nebraska is. Nebraska was pretty terrible down the stretch. Colorado State was one of the few teams that I think was probably actually worse than Colorado. Stanford, again, down the stretch, just as bad as Colorado was, in my opinion. Arizona State could be horrible, right? Like they brought in a bunch of transfers too, but they were not any good last year. Washington State, I think they'll be an underdog there. They're like big underdogs in probably 5 games, favored in probably 1 or 2, right? Like I think I would make them a favorite over Stanford right now. And then that leaves 5 other games where they'll probably be underdogs, but not massive underdogs. So can you run good in those? Can you spring 1 big upset and 3 minor upsets and not lose Stanford and Colorado State and get to a bowl? It's possible. Like the bottom half of this league is not doing well in the portal.
My concern, and we'll talk about this in the win totals later in the summer, but like the schedule starts at TCU, Nebraska, Colorado State, at Oregon, USC. They could easily be like 1-4 out the gate. And how does this team respond to a 1-4 start when everybody's all pumped up coming in, a whole bunch of new players? You get off to a rough start. It'll be interesting to see what happens from that point on.
But if they start 3-0,
if they start 3-0, they're winning. The national
they're going to the playoffs. If they start 3-0.
Like they could. I've played out in my mind go 3-0 in non-con and then 1-8 in conference play, but it won't matter. It's a success, right? Because the steam of momentum and of excitement that would happen if they go into Fort Worth and beat TCU, if they beat Nebraska in the home opener for Deion in Boulder, followed up with the Colorado State win, also a home game, then it really almost doesn't matter from there because we would expect success. It's obvious. He's got it. This is going to be it. We just get so clouded late in the season with everything else that's going on that I think for perception purposes, the non-conference schedule is going to mean more in terms of the way we talk about Deion. The first reactions, the first impressions are going to be strong in terms of the way that we ultimately grade this. Like Kansas, which got it 6, came out the gate, was it 5-0 start, but then that 6th win took a little bit before they finally punched that ticket. Came back to earth just a little bit. So I think that the start will be very important in terms of the way we talk about it. Ultimately, that's just talk.